Ladies and gentlemen, day 152 of the Russian invasion and the ninth year of Russia's war against Ukraine. My name is Andriy Shevchenko. On behalf of the Media Center Ukraine team, I would like to welcome all the journalists that are telling the entire world about our fight for freedom. We have Mr. Valentyn Badrak live with us, Director of the Center for Army Conversion and Disarmament Studies. Mr. Badrak is one of the best experts in Ukraine in weapons and armament. I will start with the following question. What is your take on the current status of weapons within Ukraine's army? Good afternoon, Andriy. It's a pleasure to cooperate with the Media Center Ukraine. What can I disclose about this? I think that another moment of the truth has come because we expect to see whether the Western world, the collective West, will be able to determine its strategic goal, whether Putin's regime will be annihilated and whether the West will contribute. In terms of weapons supplies, the West has been supporting us extensively. The West is saving us, but Ukraine is saving the West as well, because Ukraine is at a geopolitical crossroads, and Ukraine is wired into the global and even planetary system of safety and security. And as Samuel Huntington said in the past, he was talking about division or split. On the one hand, there's China, Iran. China is providing Russia with spare parts. Iran is supplying UAVs, and there's the rest of the world trying to support Ukraine with weapons. And now a couple of words about the quality of the weapons. About a month ago, we came to the conclusion that in order for Ukraine to brace itself for counteroffensive, we need systems that will be one generation ahead of the Russian systems. MLRS is the system that is one generation ahead. Javelins and Stingers are top-notch weapons as well, but these are tactical defense systems, and they are small-range systems. Valentyn, I would like to specify my question. If I understand your logic right, there's one choice before the world or the West. One choice is to support Ukraine in winning against Russia. Based on what you can see right now, which decision has the West made? I fully agree with what you said. Currently, the West hasn't really made any specific decision yet. The military are fully supportive of Ukraine. I'm talking about the military that have already retired. Ben Hodges encouraged the world to provide Ukraine with missile units that go with MLRS, and the range is up to 300 kilometers. Ukraine is also in dire need of top-notch air defense systems. Without state-of-the-art air defense systems, we will not be able to mount a proper counteroffensive. Naman's system from Norway, for example, would be a robust decision. But which pathway did the West choose? Iris-T produced in Germany and some American systems. All these systems are still being produced right now, which means that as per the optimistic scenario, we will be able to receive all these systems only at the end of the year, which will disable our counteroffensive until the end of the year. But if we receive 10 American fighter jets and some other weapons, that might change the tide of the war. There are also some issues with the infrastructure for F-16, but some of the solutions have already been crafted. How and where F-16 could be based so that they will be able to be used against the Russians. That will definitely turn the tide of the war, but that decision is not there that year. Moreover, after Ramstein 4, General Mark Milley, the head of the Unified Command, stated that there was no final and definitive decision on fighter jets. But the US House of Representatives has supported the decision of allocating 100 million USD for the training of Ukrainian pilots. But from a technical perspective, I mean, once the decision is there, why do we need so much time to have these weapons delivered to Ukraine? We're basically talking about months. The situation is as follows. The Western world understands that Ukraine is capable of effective defense operations. Ukrainians are able to learn quickly. They also have some of their own unique capacities. For example, we have rehabilitated our tradition of special unit operations. Day in, day out, we hear stories of our special units annihilating the Russians in different locations of our country, in their command posts. And it makes a quick attack on Russia dangerous from the perspective of the West. There's a dual viewpoint there. There's a decision to deter China by dint of Russia, but at the same time, they want to be very cautious and slow about deterring Russia. They don't really want to quickly destroy Putin's regime and lead to the collapse of the Russian Federation, because then it will not be clear who is in control of Russia's nuclear weapons. Yesterday, we received some really interesting messages. I would pay attention to the statements made by Ms. Brink, the US ambassador in Kyiv. She said that there was a high likelihood of the US acknowledging Russia as a terrorist state. This is a pathway towards forging a real anti-Putin coalition, and there will be a ripple effect then. I'm mostly concerned about the official stances of France and Germany, because they are very reserved in their positions, and they do not really view the potential destruction of Putin's regime. Once we have the anti-Putin coalition in place, and once this coalition decides on the destruction of Putin's regime, and I'm not really talking about the physical annihilation of Putin, it's just about the change in Russia's regime, that would be a sign of a full-scale offensive. It became known that China pulled the plug on its investments in one large-scale project, One Belt, One Way, and China started cooperating more with the Middle East country, including Saudi Arabia. It's a testimony to the fact that the perception of the Ukrainian war might change even in China. There's a question from the audience. Natalia Staropravo, Media Center Ukraine. Valentyn, we can see that Russia is facing a dilemma whether to continue its offensive or bolster its defense, which is a testament to the fact that there is a shortage of resources. So what is the current situation with their resources, and who is supporting Russia in particular with weapons? I cannot really tell you how much Russia has lost so far, but we ground our opinions in observations and hardcore facts. When Putin gives an order to dig in the vicinity of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant station, so it means that there are fears of Ukrainian counteroffensive, and there are fears of the Russians losing their top priority targets, because the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is a facility that Russia can use for nuclear blackmail. We can see that in Kherson region and in other parts of the country, there's a lot of engineering work in place. They are bracing themselves for defense. It's a positive sign for us because once they terminate their offensive, we will be able to prime for counter-offensive. But on the other hand, this process is very slow because we have not been receiving weapons in sufficient quantities and of sufficient quality. There's another question. So we can state that Russia overplayed its hand for further counter-offensive. They need to weaken some of the sections of their front line, but I cannot really say that Russia will fully deplete its resources. That would be an overstatement. Russia still has plenty of resources. It continues trading in oil and gas. There's another question. Valentyn, I have another question, if I may. Russia is propagating fakes that Ukraine is not using Western weapons to good effect or for the right purpose. What will Ukraine's answer be to this? I would like to reformulate and reframe this question a little bit to bring in a little bit of optimism. Do you see the tangible results of Ukrainians utilizing these much coveted weapons to good effect? Well, during this war, information warfare is a part and parcel of Russian operations. The Russian special forces have inherited the tools and tricks of the Soviet Union, and that was their advantage at the beginning of the war. When weapons are used in a high precision, granular manner, artillery systems, HIMARS systems. We expect Switchblade 600, these killer drones, and we expect some more powerful weapons as well. Poland also said that they would provide us with tanks PT-91. These are powerful tanks, and Poland won a tender competition in Malaysia and beat a lot of countries within the tender competition. So I really hope that in the near future, the military support for Ukraine will go up. We can see multiple fundraising campaigns in other countries when Poland and Lithuania raised funds to purchase Bayraktars for us and to provide us with tanks. But you remember that when Macron came to Kyiv, he said that the agreement was there not to provide Ukraine with tanks and assault aircraft. But the situation is changing, and we are very open and transparent about our operations. Ukraine's armed forces have posted several video clips about how Snake Island was liberated, for example. This is something that we need to continue doing, and then the world will believe in the truth, not in fakes. I have my last question. What are the weapons that are most needed in Ukraine? Can you name top 3, top 5 items? Air defense systems, NASAMS, anti-ship systems. These are the systems that will help us annihilate the Black Sea Fleet, and ATACMS for HIMARS systems. So these are the top 3 items. I don't even want to talk about the fighter jets right now because this is a long avenue, and we should not really expect that to be very quickly. So I want to be realistic. What about armored vehicles, UAVs? Encoded communications systems. Well, we have already received L3 Harris. These are the systems that were delivered even before the full-scale invasion. And I'm pretty much sure that our marine troops special operations forces and also airborne troops are already utilizing HARIS systems. As for drones and UAVs, the need is definitely there, but we will not be able to use large drones if we don't really have a proper air defense. The same is true of fighter jets, F-16, for example. They have guided warheads, long-range warheads. These jets could destroy Russian weapons and aircraft, but we will receive ground systems first, and then they might give thought to air defense. Why is the West so cautious about their moves? Uh, because the Western concept is grounded in air defense, while the Soviet legacy system is grounded in ground defense. So I believe that first and foremost, we need to receive those weapons. There's another important psychological factor that comes into play. MSM missiles and NASAMS systems are US Norwegian systems, Rateo and Ramstein companies. If we unblock European missile supplies, the situation will definitely change. And then, within a short time frame, both Germany and France will start providing us with what we need and what they think we need. We will stop here. We had Valentyn Badrak with us, Director of the Center for Army Conversion and Disarmament Studies. Thank you very much for this conversation. This is the end of our press briefings program for today. Stay tuned and